PhillyMag.com for the Eagles beat writer Sheil Kapadia. We welcome to the program. Good to see you. How are you?
Good to be here. Doing well.
We've got some news from the owners' meetings in Phoenix from Jeffrey Lurie. And some quotes attached as well. And it regards the Super Bowl. And a Super Bowl in New York coming up in northern climate. And whether or not the Eagles would want a Super Bowl in Philadelphia. Quote, I will. Yes, I will. If it's a success in New York will help us. That's from the Philadelphia Daily News. He continues, some of the most memorable games I've ever been to were very difficult and wonderful conditions. I would have no fear of it snowing as long as there's no public safety issue that day. I think it would be great if it's snowing a bit. That's from Jeffrey Lurie. Now, if it's snowing a lot, they would just have the Super Bowl the following week.
Tuesday, right?
Tuesday. It's not the game. It's the people that come to the game that are here for 5 or 6 days if it's 12 degrees.
Yeah.
That's the problem. When you're in Miami, nobody's worried about it. It's what you're doing in Miami or New Orleans or pick a nice spot.
Sheil, before we get to Eagles talk, but staying on this topic, if there is a blizzard in New York, they are prepared to play it on Saturday. If it's forecast, they would play it a day early. If they just get walloped, will they try this again?
We're going to have to see, but this was only a matter of time. You know, as soon as they announced it was going to be in New Jersey and that New York got to host it, I was just counting. I'm surprised it took Jeffrey this long, you know, because they love the link and they want to be considered in the same category if New York, you know, if Detroit had one, even though that's inside, but why can't we have one? So we'll see. If it's a success, it's only going to ramp up a little bit for Jeffrey Lurie.
I would think, why not? First-class facility, first-class city. You know, there's no reason that Philadelphia shouldn't be in the hunt if they're going to go with New York. What the heck,
you
right?
can try. I mean, we tried for an Olympics, didn't we?
Well,
I mean, you can. Yeah. No, I'm saying you can try
again.
But I think there's a little bit more of an allure to New York than Philly.
I think that's the issue. Look, we love it here, we live here, but the reality is New York is named like the 3 greatest cities in the world, and they're going to be on the list.
Talk to the hand, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's why they got it.
Yeah.
Let's just deal with reality.
I know. And then I'm sure Robert Kraft will want one up in Gillette.
Well, next thing you may be in Buffalo.
Easy. But good point. All right. And now, let's talk a little bit about the Eagles because they signed 9 players in 70 hours last week. And your early assessment on their take in free agency so far?
Well, they had so many roster spots to fill. You look, it was a 4-12 team last year. They had so much cap space. You knew that moves were going to come, and they made a flurry, you know, and they didn't give out a lot of guaranteed money. So I think what they wanted to do was sign guys 26, 27, 28, who maybe can be part of your future at the same time. If they don't work out a year or 2 from now, you know, they're not going to be paying out a lot of dead money. So I think that was kind of the strategy.
When you look at the list, and here's the look. By the way, they now have 3 former Houston Texans on the team, if you count. D'Amico Ryans, who's been with the team for a year, but Connor Barwin tops on the list, the linebacker. I don't know if you would say one of these guys outweighs the other regarding their worth here.
I think Barwin's the big name. You know, they're moving to a 3-4. They got to get to the quarterback. They have 3 guys, Trent Cole, Vinny Curry, Brandon Graham. Maybe they transition outside linebacker, but they haven't done it yet. So Barwin's a guy who's had double-digit sacks, is only 26 years old, former 2nd-round pick. So when I look at that list, I think that's the guy they're really expecting big things
Does
from.
anything they did there affect them what they do in the draft? Like, did they address some needs that you say, okay, well, now we don't really have to go in that direction as much as we might have?
I don't think so. I think they still, I mean, they're at number 4. You can't pass on a guy just because you got a Connor Barwin or you got a quarterback or something like that. You got to take the best available player. Now, if they do take an outside linebacker like Deion Jordan from Oregon, then you do have a little bit of a logjam there. But, you know, if you really like him that much, you got to just take him and figure it out.
In effect, they almost have 2 first-round picks.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Does anybody know if the coach is having any input into any of this at this point, or is this strictly Howie Roseman and his group?
Ooh. Chip Kelly, it's actually been a little different from Andy Reid. He had a specific set of requirements, height, weight, 40 times. It wasn't like this under Andy Reid, so Howie Roseman has talked about this. It's been different from the personnel side. But other than that, you're right. I mean, Chip Kelly got hired, putting together his staff. He was at the Senior Bowl, at the Combine. So he's watching film on specific guys. But if you're thinking he's watching hundreds of free agents on film saying, I want this guy now, I think it's Howie Roseman, it's Tom Gamble, it's the personnel
Yeah,
staff.
he couldn't possibly do that. I mean, he's just coming out of college football. He would have no knowledge of any of these people, and he's smart enough to know that.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, and when you look at the speed component, he says he wants 40 times. You know, when you run an offense the way he does, it's almost the most important thing. The size obviously comes into it, right? The speed.
Yeah, it's been the two things. I mean, defense, they're getting bigger. You know, we always saw Andy Reid saying we want that fast ball coming off the edge, but if you look at every defensive player on that list, they've got height, and I think that was important to him. And yeah, on offense, you got to add speed. We saw it with James Casey as kind of that versatile H-back tight end player, so we'll see that in the draft also, I think.
Let's get to the quarterback real quick, because that's the one question mark. You just can't have a question mark at that position. It's the quarterback. And the talk about Geno Smith and whether or not he's selected at 4, whether or not Nick Foles or Michael Vick really has a shot to be the quarterback beyond next year. Vick's on a 1-year deal. How do you see this playing out come draft day next month?
Well, Jeffrey Lurie also said at the owners' meeting last time he looked at a prospect in person, Donovan McNabb. I mean, it's been that long since he's traveled, and he traveled to West Virginia to check Geno Smith out along with Howie Roseman and Chip Kelly. Some people think it's a ruse. I think they're legitimately looking at Geno Smith. I don't know if they're going to take him at number 4, but I think if Chip Kelly looks at him and says, this is the guy, I can win with this guy, this can be my franchise quarterback, absolutely there's a chance they take him with the 4th pick.
All right. 1, do you think he could be a franchise quarterback? 2, do they jump up to avoid, you know, I don't know if Reed would think about it with the 1st pick, or Detroit, or no, Detroit's after that. Jacksonville or Oakland.
Yeah, and one of those teams certainly could take him. And Geno Smith, everyone you talk to, they say he's got the physical tools, you know, he's athletic and all that, but can he be the guy for Chip Kelly at number 4? Are you really going to tie your wagon to him? We'll see. That's the one guy's opinion, the only guy that matters.
Sheil, thanks for being with us. We'll see you real soon. Sheil Kapadia from PhillyMag.com. Thanks to Dick Girardi, Mike Kern. Thanks as well, of course, to Bob.